Hi, guys. You made it. Welcome aboard. My name is Brandy Monique Sieber, and you are watching Just Waking Up. I am so excited to share with you the conversation that I had with Robert Kalil today from Typical Skeptic Podcast. Many of you know him as a researcher and an investigator into the paranormal, UFO phenomena, SSP phenomena, ancient histories, unseen worlds. And to be fair, that's initially why I started watching Typical Skeptic Podcast. I was just absolutely moved and touched. My brain was expanded by some of the guests that he has. And as I began to watch him, I became more in awe of Robert himself. He has such a golden heart and such a beautiful, beautiful young man. I am just, what a blessing to have someone like Robert in this field and dedicating his life to interviewing and allowing people to share their story or share their experience. It really shows the kind of human being that he is, which is the kind of human I feel like we all need to be towards each other right now. He's just fair and kind and inquisitive and brilliant. I actually think that Robert has lots going on in his mind, and I wanted to just kind of ask him questions about himself personally, and then I also wanted just to kind of like run topics by him. I feel like he might have an entire file cabinet of data and information in his mind, and I see him bring it out every once in a while. He's pulling dates and names out of nowhere, and just I feel like he is likely a sponge for all of the interviews that he has. And so, for this reason, I just really wanted to kind of do an ode and a shout out to Robert with this interview. I hope that it comes across. I hope that you enjoy this conversation. And I send you a big, warm smile and a big hug. Super love ya. Enjoy the interview. Okay. Hi, guys. You are watching Just Waking Up. Welcome aboard. Today, I'm so excited that I have an opportunity to have a conversation with Rob Kalil. He is the host of Typical Skeptic Podcast, and he's been running strong with this podcast since 19 or 2020. Is that correct?
2019. Well, I mean, I started in 2019, but it really went off, took off in 2020, I guess you could say, you know?
Okay, so 2019, that's almost 7 years.
Hmm.
And he just kind of pushes the boundaries of fringe topics, disclosure, esoteric, the unknown. And today I wanted to take an opportunity just to kind of get to know Rob. He always has these amazing guests on there. And just to name a few, he's interviewed people like Carrie Cassidy, Laura Eisenhower, Jerry Wills, Olivia James, Eve Howard, Joseph Farrell, Gene Decode, Brad Olson, Tony Rodriguez. And I know that there's Penny Bradley. I have a whole list. And I know there's more. His YouTube channel was deleted. Is that correct, Rob?
Yeah, I had to start a new one. Yeah. When you say
Yeah.
that
And
name, when you
so
say that list of names, it makes me smile. I can't believe like I got that much accomplished. And a lot of those people are like multiple time guests, you know, like it's like,
multiple time guests. Yeah,
yeah.
I've got a huge list. And I know that this is just the tip of the iceberg because there's some really amazing, incredible speakers and researchers and experiencers you've had that
I don't see on your site anymore because I went back just to look at everybody you've interviewed, and it's just fascinating. You have an incredible body of work. Do you have the old videos from when it was deleted? Do you still have the originals?
I have a lot of old stuff, and then like a hack to my podcast is I forgot I was doing this. Like I guess like at like when I was doing my old YouTube, I was syncing my videos to Rumble and Odyssey. So every time I would upload a video to YouTube, it would go to Rumble and Odyssey. So there's a lot of copies of my old videos on Rumble and Odyssey. I think that goes back to 2022.
Oh,
Some of the stuff from like 2021 and 2020 unfortunately did get lost, which sucks. But I mean, it's disappointing for sure, but I mean, like I'm hoping that like I know that like YouTube gave like my friend some of my friends their channels back. Like they gave back Journey to Truth their channel. They gave back Laura Eisenhower their channel, her channel. They gave back my friend Chris from Forbidden Knowledge News. They gave him his channel back, but they haven't given me mine back yet. So I
I
don't
think the
know.
Imagination podcast also.
Did she
Hers
give
was
it back?
taken. I'm pretty sure. I mean, unless she's reposting, perhaps I'm mistaken, but she's back on and doing interviews and has um, uploaded some of her older videos.
Yeah.
So again, I just wanted to, just say shout out to you, G, because I'm you were a huge part of my personal awakening because some of the guests that you had on, it was pretty incredible. I woke up when I was young, like maybe, 19, 20, 21, and went back to sleep, if you will. I have had my own experiences, but, during COVID, I just started watching videos and I came across you and some of the things that you had on, like these SSP topics. Your site is just and Carrie Cassidy, you've had everybody on that is, I believe, a really important step, testimonies, and researchers to listen to in order to get into these topics, if that makes sense. Um, so I just want to ask you some questions and get to know you kind of a little bit on a personal note, because I never hear about that. I always hear everybody else, and I hear you have conversations, but I don't hear you really talk too much about yourself. So I want to get nosy and get to know you a little bit, if that's okay.
Okay.
Um, First of all, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It's we go by they call it the Steel City. We have like the football team, the Pittsburgh Steelers here, and like it's kind of like a blue collar town. You know what I mean? Like when you know what I mean by blue collar, like it's real
Mhm.
like like steel worker. Yeah, I guess you could say like blue collar, 9 to 5 worker type town. You know what I mean? Really good food. But I moved away a couple times throughout my life when I moved with different girlfriends and stuff like that. Like I lived in Florida, like a lot of different places on the East Coast. I lived in like Philly, Jersey. I lived in North Carolina. I lived in Florida. But then I always find my way back to Pittsburgh. And like most recently, I was living with my one girlfriend here in Pittsburgh, and then we kind of broke up, and then after COVID and like yeah, so yeah, I find myself back here, but and I don't mind it. It's sometimes it's like really brutal winters. Like 2 weeks ago, we got like 2 feet of snow. You know what I mean? But I mean,
Wow.
being here was like the whole reasoning for like why I'm doing what I'm doing now, because this all started when I was like, I've told this on other podcasts. I don't think you heard it, but like like when I do other shows, I kind of tell people. So what happened was in 2001, I was 21 years old because I'm 46 right now, and I just turned 46, but I mean, so in 2001, I was 21 and I had a girlfriend at the time. She was 19, and she was still staying at her parents' house, and I would take her home like late at night, like at like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I would be like flipping through the radio, like looking for something to listen to. And that's when I discovered Art Bell, who was like the founder of like Coast to Coast AM, which was like a late night like paranormal UFO talk radio show. And like at this time, like, I grew up watching Unsolved Mysteries and I watched Sightings. So I always loved those shows. But really at this time, like there was no podcast. This was like unheard of. You know what I mean? So for me to stumble across something, and it was like a real live radio show with commercial breaks. So you couldn't just like cue things up like you can now. So you kind of like had to be on the radio listening to it, unless you recorded it with a tape recorder or something like that. You know what I mean? But that's kind of, and it was crazy because you had to get it, like it was on AM radio, so you had to get it like tuned in exactly right to your radio. So I'd be like messing with the radio trying to get in. But like I remember Art Bell would have these like most amazing conversations about like the unknown and mysteries and the paranormal, and like it really like sparked my interest for what I do today, because like I realized, I think at that point, that I kind of wanted to like emulate. I wanted to be like him, and then what happened was is I have a past with addiction. I'm kind of open about it. Like I was in 2009 to 2012, I was really bad, like really bad, and then I kind of came out of it. And then in 2015, you could say I had like a reawakening. And that was the story of the Anunnaki. When I heard about the Anunnaki, like it kind of like shook my whole world up, because for some reason I don't remember hearing about that on Art Bell back in the day. Where I think he talked about it, but I don't remember it. But then when I heard it, like I remember, if you know like who Matt LaCroix is, like he's one of my favorite like researchers of ancient history. I emailed him right away because it was one of his videos that I saw, and I was like, "What is this about these Anunnaki? Who are these beings?" I was like, "What is?" I was so intrigued by it, and then that led me into like 2019 when I started like posting videos about the Anunnaki, and then I just decided to start interviewing people. I was watching shows like Leak Project with Rex Bear, and I was watching Forbidden Knowledge News with Chris Matthew. Those were like some of the biggest shows that had like an influence on my show, because like their shows, I wanted to be a show where I kind of cover everything. Like, I want my show to be like, one day you could, be on it. I'd be talking about like the paranormal. The next day I could be talking about something like highly esoteric. The next day it could be like SSP. The next day it could be like alien abduction. It's kind of like I want that thing to be like, you never know what you're going to get with my show. You know what I mean? I mean, I know
I
sometimes
love
I
it.
kind of fall into like, like trends. Like I'll interview a lot of SSP people or stuff like that, but I like to kind of be like, always have people, I like to mix it up, mix the topics up. Yeah.
Yeah, well done, because you definitely do that. If I think about your channel, it's yeah, I kind of divided into three genres. Like sometimes these panels that you have, and you're just getting so many opinions about contemporary events, and then you have the esoteric and the readings and experiencers and researchers. Yeah, so I love it. That's great. Yeah, you did exactly that. And does your family know what you're doing right now? And
My dad passed away when I was 21. He had prostate
oh,
cancer.
I'm sorry.
He was in like the Vietnam War, and he had he drank alcohol too and stuff like that. But I mean, he wasn't like bad, you know what I mean? But I mean, like I think that like like everybody back in the days kind of drank, like it was kind of like more of like a thing back then, to drink. And like
Yeah.
and I think it was from the Agent Orange that they sprayed over in Vietnam, that kind of like triggered his cancer. And by the time he went to the doctor, it was too late. So, and then I don't have any brothers or sisters, but I mean, besides that, I have a huge family, because my mom's like Greek and Italian, you could say. And like, like my great grandmother had like 8 kids, and then my grandmother had like a bunch of kids. So I have a lot of like cousins, and I say nieces and nephews, but they're really like my second cousins. But we're all like a really close family, but I don't have any siblings. And then I don't, and so it's just like my mom, she knows what I do, but she's like, she kind of understands it, and she's really proud of me, because she sees like me, she sees like, she sees the success I have. Like she'll see like stuff I post on Facebook, or she'll see, like, or she'll hear stuff about like stuff where I'll get mentioned and stuff, or I'll get interviewed by a magazine, I'll tell her, or like, so she is really proud of me. But like, I don't think she completely understands what you know what I mean? Like the whole deal of what I do.
Have you ever had like experiences yourself? Like, do you have any experiences aside from ghost, but like off world, or like anything actually?
I mean, I've had like weird stuff happen. I mean, I've had a bunch of stuff happen really that like I mean, so like when I was young, I had like sleep paralysis, you know, and I would get like old hag syndrome, and I would see like shadow figures sometimes. Like when I was this happened when I was like 13 years old, which was interesting because later on when I was listening to Art Bell, I kind of went back to that, but then later on in life, I've had recently I've had like a really bad entity attachment, like which was like, this has been ongoing for like 2 years where, like it was just it started when my ex-girlfriend was here, like something would be touching me at night, and then it like turned into I'd be laying there and I could feel like entities coming up off the ground, and they would be like loose feeding off my liver, like, and then
Mhm.
it turned into like a full-blown entity attachment. Like it really makes you realize that like there's something else out there, like that there's other forces out there, like there's astral, like because like the only way I can like explain like what I had was I had like what seemed like an astral parasite. Like it would like attach to me. You would feel like an energy attached to you. Like I could feel it on my crown. Like they would probably tap like into the crown chakra most likely, but then they say
Mhm.
entities or demons can tap in on the back of the neck too. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I remember
Yeah.
one time, like recently, like I think it was like when I don't have it anymore. Thank God I don't have it. But I mean, I had the entity attachment really bad, and I went to like a fish fry at a church. They here in Pittsburgh they have like those fish fries. I went with my mom, and like the entities were like going crazy on me. They were like jumping all. I mean, like I could feel them moving around on my body when I went into the church. You know what I mean? Which was like really like and I tried like many different energy healers. I tried so many people to try to clear it, and someone finally told me, they're like, you kind of got to do it yourself. They're like, you got to
Yeah.
find a way to like get rid of, and that's what I did have to do. It was
Yeah.
but finally it just kind of went away. You know what I mean? I don't know if it's because we have holes in our auric field, or if there's something that the entities can attach onto.
Mhm.
It could be many things, but I actually wanted to do a book on entity attachments because it was so intense what I went through. It was yeah, it was
Uh,
really.
I remember you talking about that for, yeah, it's been like almost a year, year and a half or something. Maybe not quite that long.
Yeah,
But may I share with you? Because I so often I wish I could talk to you actually.
yeah.
I post little things and jump in the live chat every once in a while, but I don't too often. Um, but may I share with you my perception on energy attachments and whether but I agree with you. I do think that it's my belief that the way that our chakras spin when we have some type of trauma, and that trauma can be from anything, emotional, physical, so many types of things that cause us suffering or pain mentally or emotionally or our physical bodies. And then when that happens, there's like a little web that kind of forms over our chakras, and it tears, and it's those tears that cause places where the entity attachments can get in. And so I always look, because I've had attachments as well. I think everybody probably gets them every once in a while. I'm just like, oh, okay. But I believe it's an opportunity just to kind of like fortify your field, if you will.
Yeah.
And I do think that it's something that we need to do ourselves. So I'm glad that you're feeling better, though. You've been looking really good
Oh,
and
thanks.
strong and vital. Like I've noticed that you really have looked good, Rob. Yeah.
Well, thank you. That means a lot, because I'm really
Mhm.
trying. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, you've got this, Rob. You've got this. Um, okay, so you said about 2018 is when you started to uh, make podcasts.
Yeah, like 2018, 2019, somewhere around
2018,
there.
2019.
But like, what was weird is I never thought it would take a turn that it did. Like, like when I first got into this, like, like, sure, I saw stuff about like Max Spears and stuff, so I knew a little bit about the secret space program. But like, I didn't know about the vast, like, I didn't know about the whole community. Like, I don't think I started interviewing people from the SSP until like maybe 2021, 2022. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
And then it just
Mhm.
started like, for some reason, like I took to that community and the people in it, and I like, I love people like Penny Bradley. I got to meet a lot of these people in person because I went to the Full Disclosure Now conference 2 years in a row. And like, like I met like Sean Bond in person. I met Matthew Mornian. I met Brad Olson. Brad Olson's very tall. He's very tall. He's like 7 foot
I
tall for
know.
real. He's amazing though. He's a really nice guy. I met Laura Eisenhower twice. I mean a lot of the. I mean, I knew a lot of those people aren't exactly in the SSP, but like it was kind of like an SSP conference. It was kind of everything. It was kind of like they had psychics there and disclosure and all kinds of stuff. And I was lucky. I got to go 2 years in a row. You know. Yeah, but I mean, we're going back to that. I never thought that I would be getting this world of like interviewing people about military abductions and secret space programs and targeted individuals, and it kind of just took a turn to like where that kind of happened. I don't mind it. I like it. And I like giving it as much exposure to someone who may, excuse me, have never gotten on a podcast as I do to like someone who's maybe a really big known guest.
I love that about you. That really speaks to your heart and your openness and your willingness to learn from everybody as well.
Thank you.
Um, who was the first SSP person that, like, what the first time you received that information, like, whose testimony was it that made you realize that
Oh man,
some of these people are being used in military
I have to
operations and
think. It
programs?
probably was. I think it was like Penny Bradley. Probably, I would say. Like, but probably most likely it was Penny Bradley. I think so.
Mm. I really like her. It's just everybody, actually. I really appreciate everybody's testimony. It was there anything that shocked you when you heard it? Like,
Yeah,
I guess you just said SSP, but is there anything else that made you, and you said Anunnaki, but
well, I'm naturally like skeptical in my private life, right? Like I'm a little
Mhm.
bit I'm really open-minded, but I'm skeptical about stuff. So for me, it was hard to believe that like some of these people were being used in these programs. But like the more that you get to know these people and you interview them, you realize you're like, there's absolutely something going on here. I don't know
Mhm.
exactly what it is, but it's like this person's definitely being involved in something, and like it's scary to think that like the government can have that much like control and like technology that they can use against us, or that they can that they have this stuff at their will to like
Yeah.
and yeah, it's really just kind of you know yeah.
Do you think that you've ever been a part of any of those programs?
I've been told I have. I've been told that I've been, abducted by, aliens. I've been told that like I'm part of like black ops programs, but by multiple people, but like I have no memories. And I
Mhm.
always told people, I said, I want to be absolutely sure, before I come out with it. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I had something. I don't know if you followed me for this long, but what happened was, let me see if I can find this. I think it was January of I would have to let me see if I'll find it. It was January of 2024 or January of 2025. And what happened was, I'm going into my pictures now. What happened was I went to bed with my wait, where's my files? Files, FILES. Oh, there he is. Okay, so I went to bed with I had a phone that like the headphone jack plugged in here. You know what I mean? It wasn't like now
Mhm.
my headphones are Bluetooth on my new phone, but like my headphone jack like plugged into the port on the phone, right?
Yeah,
And I went to
like the
bed with
three
my
mil.
phone in my pocket because I was listening to binaural beats. Obviously, I had like an EMF protection sticker on there, but like I fell asleep with my phone in my pocket, and I woke up and I looked at my pedometer for some reason. I thought to like check my pedometer. Let me see if I can find this. It said it's
What's a pedometer?
a pedometer tracks your steps. So it's
Oh, okay.
it tracks like your like how many steps you've done or how many, yeah, like how many steps you've done. So look at this on December 31st. It says I went 53 million, not or no, yeah, 53,927,000 steps
Whoa.
overnight. So, and it says that I burned about 2,000 calories, and it says I went 23,000 miles per hour, and it says I traveled about 6,000 miles, like overnight. It said that happened,
Crazy man.
and I still have the proof, but
Wow.
I don't know what happened. And then, like, if you look at the bar graph on here, it looks like
Mhm.
something happened like right away. Like it looked like it didn't happen over time. It looks like there's one big like spike, and then it comes back down. Like you know what I mean? It's like
Wow, Rob.
right around the time of I can't of 10 to 12 p.m. Yeah, like so yeah, it's just really weird how that happened. It makes me think that like maybe that night I was taken or something like that, you know? I don't
And
know.
that you were drawn to look at it too. I mean, that's a tell right there. Also, wow,
Well, just to
that's
give you an
incredible.
yeah, like I used to walk every day, and I would run every day, and like the most I would do is I would do like 10 to 12,000 steps a day. So that's 10 to 12,000, but that said 53 million. You know what I mean? So that's like that's
Whoa,
yeah, that's insane.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should. Yeah, that's so interesting. That's wild. Wow. Were you thinking about anything, or if you were taken, like if you were to like do you have an idea as to who or where you would have gone
Well, what
or
was
who you would have
interesting is
gone with?
my friend Maya was doing a
Mhm.
hypnosis session that night, and she said she was taking everybody up or like she said they would meet on craft. Like my friend Maya from SOSQHT, she
Mhm.
does like BQH hypnosis, which is like beyond quantum hypnosis, and she told me that they were doing their session from that time, and she said that I was with them on craft, like that, like we all
Wow.
met in the astral. So part of me thinks maybe I could have been there with them, like I could have like somehow teleported or something like that. You know, it's interesting for sure.
Wow, that's cool. That's a trip. Is do you have anything else like that that you think has happened?
Not really. I don't have any other evidence of like,
Hmm.
besides marks waking up with marks on my body, and like, oh yeah, I do actually have one more thing. So what happened was when I was having like the entity attachments, like, like when it would be weird, like at like 3 in the morning, I would hear like this noise come outside of my window, and it would sound like if you were on an elevator and an elevator started falling and it came to like a halt, how it would just go like like that. That's what I would hear outside my window. And at first, like there's a trash. I live in an apartment complex. There's a trash compactor that comes at like 3 in the morning. So at first, I thought it was the trash compactor, but it wasn't. So I don't know if that was like a portal opening and like beings coming in from the portal, or if that was a craft landing outside my window. You know what I mean? But it would sound like it would sound like it would go like whoosh, like that, and I would be like, "What the hell was that?" But it was very strange, very strange. You know.
Wow. And yeah, that's incredible. If you were to guess, like, do you have any guesses or thoughts on what,
I
like,
don't
if
know.
you were to
You know
even
that
imagine, like, what's the first thing that you would think of if you were just to imagine what, and or star races, or do you think it's like military?
it could be. I never thought about that. It could be. It could be something. But yeah, it sounded like something like. It sounded something more like otherworldly for sure.
Hmm.
Like because it sounded like a portal opening for sure. You know.
Wow, that's awesome. Did you ever used to go camping or anything like that as a kid?
A little bit. Like I was in Boy Scouts and stuff like that, but never nothing like. And then we did it in high school and stuff too, but nothing like nothing major.
Hmm. And is there, of all the things that you've ever heard, have you ever been really shocked by something that kind of changed your whole perception? I mean, obviously, these topics in and of themselves are really melting away the conditions that we have. But is there anything that,
I'm trying to think of what one of the best testimonies. Like, I would say some
yeah,
of
is
the
your
best stuff that's
favorite?
been coming out lately was from like two different people that really kind of that I think have brought like amazing information is Renetta Jones, rest in peace. You know, she passed away. And I have 16 podcasts with her. I love the shows we did together. She always brought such amazing information. And
Yeah,
then the other is Indigo Angel. We
yeah,
become like really good friends. Like, we're really close, and I really think she brings like amazing information each time. Like, we just did a show together on like the grids of like the energetic grids of Epstein Island, and she had amazing information like that. And then before that, we did a show on Greenland that was pretty revealing about like what's really going on in Greenland and like kind of like the esoteric breakdown of that. And then I can't remember the show we did before that. And then Renetta kind of just had amazing information all the time about like, alien spiders and all kinds of like, like like the one video I have with Renetta where she's proven the SSP. That's a really good one, and she's tying it to the frequencies that the FCC are using and stuff like that. And that was mind blowing, for
wow.
sure.
Actually, you just brought up like two of my favorite guests that you have on there. Renetta was incredible, like just incredible. I agree with you. And I love her stories about the living water.
Yeah.
Um, wow, just like because I can see it. And yeah, I loved her. I actually reached out to her to interview. There were four people I reached out to last year to interview, and all of them are not here. And
Wow.
it yeah, like James, Rob Potter, Raynetta, and Brad and I were working on doing a astrology show together because he was a really, really incredible astrologer, like traditional astrology. And I like to look at the fixed stars and I kind of go out there. And depending on how the fixed stars come in, it kind of shows where your soul was prior to incarnating. It's fascinating. But that said, yeah, awesome. Thanks for giving those guys a platform because I mean, where else would you hear about it? And Indy's baller. Like, wow. She is just incredible, the information and the data and how she brings it and how she delivers it. And you just really feel her passion and authenticity for what she's speaking to. And it just really draws me in. That's awesome. That's really awesome. Um, yeah, so good job. Thanks, Rob, for bringing
Well,
those
I'll tell
people
you just a
in.
little bit about them. Like with Bernetta, like we had a podcast relationship with 2 years where we did shows together. And with Indigo Angel, it's been 3 years that we've been doing shows together. So it's kind of like I've been able to build these like long lasting like like friendship podcast partnerships with people, and they kind of like, they last, or they have lasted, for this time. And like it means a lot to me, because like it means that they trust me to like come on my show and bring their information and stuff like that. I mean, even if I am
Yeah.
shadow banned, which I do think I am, because I see some of these. This is something I wanted to talk about. Like, like I see some of these mainstream UFO channels and stuff, and like even like fringe channels, they get like hundreds of thousands of views and stuff, and like here I am, I'm getting like 1,000, 2,000. Like, well, some of my videos with Carrie Cassidy and Gene Decode have a lot more views, but like, like my regular average podcast gets around like 1,000 to 2,000 views. Where on my old channel, I used to get a lot more views. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know. I don't think it's anything with like that I'm doing wrong. I think it's actually like YouTube's like shadow banning because I had, my channel taken down or whatever, or something like that. That's the only thing I can surmise that it is. I don't know.
Yeah, and some of those, because I've noticed that as well, like some topics that I've seen you have shows on or some other, um, I don't know what that is. Yeah, I just noticed that sometimes, like one day someone has this many followers, the next they have a lot. And
Yeah.
it's just interesting to me. Um, I just recognize that. So I don't know what that is. I don't know if you're being shadow banned or they're being like pushed.
Yeah.
you know, because to be fair, uh, I feel like you're uncontrollable. You know what I mean? Like your content, the things that you're speaking to, it's like you're going everywhere with it. You're not staying in a little box
Yeah.
and you're not jumping on any bandwagon. And I really love and appreciate that about you. And
Thanks.
again, like the guests that you have, just I can't believe you brought like literally two people that just speak to things that I don't hear anybody talk about. Like I don't hear anybody bringing information the way Indigo Angel does. That the way she sees the world, her abilities and her sight is so awesome. And Renetta too, of course, was just some of the things I'll be honest. Sometimes I was like, I'm really trying to see those faces that she would bring. Like, she was so cute when she brought like all the mountain pictures and she would like she was pushing me, I was like really trying to
There's
see
a
some of the
story
things that
behind
she
that.
felt.
There's like we were supposed to go. I don't know if you know that. Like we were supposed to go on a trip. Like it. I mean, we did a podcast on it. Me, her, and James. Where like we were supposed to go to these like
Yeah,
those
to
Texas
Texas.
mountains, and then what happened was the reason why that trip never happened. Well, what was weird was like Renetta actually died on the day that we were supposed to be there. Like the day that we would have been at the trip, she actually died. But like before this, leading up to it, I guess she was getting these like weird premonitions. She thought that like if if we would have went on the trip that a portal would have opened up and dogmen would have came out and murdered us all. That's the so it made her it made she felt so strongly about it that it made her cancel the trip.
Wow.
Yeah, it's
Wow,
weird,
that's
right?
powerful. That's pretty profound. Wow. And oh yeah, she the just all the hardware in her head. Um, I just love the proof that she brought. I have a chip in my ear, and just seeing her, and it can't, I got chipped recently, right when I started waking up. It was just weird, but I just didn't really pay attention to it. But after seeing her, just, it just made me, I don't know, sometimes your guests and you validate other people that are having the same experiences. And I think that it's important for us not to like freak out, at what could or could not be happening to us in our bodies and our reality. But it's an opportunity really to look at it face on and deal with it. Because when we're not aware that these things are happening, it's when we're taken advantage of in those ways. And so the knowledge of it is what gives us the power to, kind of stand up and be sovereign to it and just say, no,
Yeah.
if
Hey,
that makes sense.
can I ask
So
you what happened to you? What happened? Why do you think you got chipped, or what happened? Like I know this
I
is
really don't know. I do think that it's not like an off-world thing. I do think it's like a military thing because it's like so physical and it was so drastic. I don't think that I don't give permission for any star races to chip me, to monitor me, and make sure I'm doing okay down here on Earth. Like, I'm not into that. I'm not into being chipped at all. I don't want to be touched. I don't want any of that. I don't want to be surveilled. I don't want to, I don't need anybody to know where I am.
yeah,
But I do know that I have been used in certain breeder programs. I do know that I've been used in, and I'm still, I don't know. I try not to go there too much.
yeah,
I don't feel traumatized by it, but I know that I've been through some traumatic things. And I really don't know why this happened. The thing that I feel is that it had to do with the fact that I was waking up and I was really diving in and consuming, and I was having memory and I was having connections and contacts with certain beings and uh, consciousness, and it was coming in hot. And right after that, I had just a slew of things happening. I have people around me that tell me that I'm a targeted individual, but I refuse to say that out loud. I
yeah,
just absolutely refuse. Like, I am not a targeted individual. And if I think something's happening to me, again, it's just an opportunity for me to fortify my security in my own field. It's an opportunity for me to kind of like figure it out so I can stop it. That's how I've been able to deal with some of the things that have happened to me. It just makes me feel a little more empowered, and that I have the ability to transcend my reality. Now, I'm not saying that things don't happen to people and things didn't happen to me, but I have to look at it that way, because otherwise I'm going to get buried in the fear, or buried in the only thing that I do focus on things. If I think I'm being attacked, I want to know where it's coming from, and then I know how to resolve it,
That's
if
a good,
that makes sense.
yeah.
But anyway, it makes me bucky if I start thinking about those things, and I get I get a little upset about it, and so I'm trying to learn how not to be so upset about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think I was chipped so it would dumb me back down a little bit, kind of um pacify me, or try to erase my ability to connect. That's what I think. But yeah, and it's in my ear, like I can feel it, and it was not there and then it was. But anyway, back to Renata. So it was your show with her when she was going over all of the things in her body that helped me to just kind of accept what I had going on. um, do you have anybody that you wouldn't have on again? And maybe that's a loaded question, and you don't even have to answer that if you don't want.
I don't know. I mean, not really. I mean, like I don't know. Like I never kind of, and a knock on wood, I never gotten any arguments really. I mean, wait, um, there is one. I'm kind of like I mean, I mean, we get along now, but I was kind of, I kind of had a disagreement with Dr. Kim McGeorge. Like she used to come on my show all the time. Then we had an argument, and then, but then like I talked to her behind the scenes, and we're cool now. We talk like. But she doesn't come on my show anymore. But like we're cordial with each other. Behind the scenes. Like, but I mean, I would have her. I would even have her on again. But I mean, like, you know, she kind of, I mean, like, she kind of, like, I don't know, she kind of got me upset because she was kind of doing those, like, hit piece videos on people where she would, like, talk about someone and it would be, like, it was, like, expose them. And I was like, man, I was like, like, Dr. Kim she's so talented. She's such an intelligent woman. She doesn't need to do those kind of videos because she can just promote herself and how intelligent and how great she is. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
without having to do those kind of videos. That's kind of how I felt about it. And I never told her that, but I mean, that's the way I think about it.
I know who you're talking about, and I have, yeah, I'm aware of exactly what you're talking about. And at first I was like, oh, this is funny. And then I was like, wait a minute, that's a little mean. Yeah, I believe that I learned I appreciate each other. I don't agree with everybody. I don't need to, but I respect everybody's opinion and insight. And again, that's why I like your show, because I feel like you kind of take on that same mentality and same perspective. It really shows, and your heart shows through that, Rob. Like your heart's so flipping big. That's why I wanted to talk to you. I just see how, just what a beautiful soul you are, and how kind and respectful, and that shows in every single one of your shows. Like everything that you do, you don't shy away from being in your heart, and I think it's really cool, and I appreciate it.
Wow, thank you. That means a lot.
Yeah, it's true. Um, okay, I have this little thing I was thinking, because it's my opinion that you're this very badass researcher. And sometimes when you're interviewing people, you'll pop back with information and data like names, dates, and it's just kind of out of nowhere. And I really think that you have a lot going on, like of the thousands of how many interviews have you done? Like you're
I
nearing
mean, I'd have to look
2,000, I
it up,
think.
but I think I'm at like 24. I think I passed up Joe Rogan. Like, believe it or not, I think he's at 24. I looked at his show and I think he's at 2450 something, and I'm at let me see here. My show last night was 2468. Yeah.
Wow. Wow, that's so many. Wow. Um, so I was thinking, if you don't mind, like if I can just fire off some topics and you can just kind of give me a little data and information, because I think you are a pretty incredible teacher. I mean, to the point where you could probably go to these places and be a speaker yourself on some of these
I'll try to
topics.
answer it, and I'll do the best as I can. Yeah.
Yeah, let's go. Okay, and these are random. Giants. What are your thoughts, and can you tell me anything about them?
Yeah, I mean, well, there's a lot of stuff. I mean, there's stuff that goes back to like the Sumerian tales of like, like the Anunnaki, and like I believe the giant race was called the Anakim, and the Israelites, like, I remember Matthew LaCroix did a video on this where, Yahweh goes and tells the Israelites to like raid all the surrounding like Middle Eastern kingdoms because he's trying to eradicate the giants, and he sends the Israelites out. And you learned about like the King Og, and it's supposedly King Og it was like this giant. He was like this Assyrian king or something like that, and he had like an 18-foot iron bed. But then also you hear like accounts of like Magellan, who was like the famous explorer, and he found giants off the coast of Patagonia, supposedly. And then also, I've heard stories about giants up here in Pennsylvania where the Serpent Mound, supposedly they found giant bones off of the Serpent Mound, but they were covered up by the Smithsonian. So there's definitely some evidence to that in a lot of different places for giants. Yeah.
Wow. Okay, great. And thank you. That was awesome. See what I mean? Grace.
Oh, gray aliens. Well, I mean,
Mhm.
okay. Well, there's a lot on gray aliens. Well, if you look at like Elena Danan's work, which we don't really get along. I really respect her. She writes that, and then the Russian KGB book of aliens writes that there's like 84 different races of grays, but like the ones we hear about the most are like the Zeta grays, the Zeta reticulans. Supposedly they came here after World War II to do, start doing these abductions. A lot of people say it was because, their genes were failing or something like that. So they wanted to repopulate their race. Whereas other people say the Greys are time travelers. But like the Greys have a real long storied history with us, especially like in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s. And it ties primarily into alien abduction because like, when you start to like really look into alien abduction, you find that like a lot of people were being abducted around those times, especially the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, more 70s, 80s, and 90s. You know what I mean? What was weird was it was like a key turning point for that was like Whitley Strieber's Communion. When that book came out and people saw the picture of the gray alien face, it was like it wasn't that people were making up stories. I think it was like people were seeing something that resonated with them, whether it was a dream they had or an experience they had, and then all of a sudden more people were like, oh my God, this happened to me. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where I'm at with the Greys. And then, I'm friends with Laura Eisenhower. A lot of people like to say that her grandfather signed a treaty with the Greys. But here's my thing on that. I don't think the aliens would need to sign a treaty with anybody. They can pretty much do what they want. But I mean, that then Carrie Cassidy says that like, that like the government recently signed something with the Greys so they would go south of the border to the South American countries and start abducting people. And it's weird because she may have something to that because we're not seeing as many alien abductions up here, but you're seeing a lot of alien activity in south of the border. You're still seeing a lot of accounts of that. I hope that answers
That's
the question a
interesting.
little bit. I don't know.
Very much. Because again, I'm just trying to see, like, you have a lot of information in there. Okay, the ice wall. Thank you, Rob, by that.
The ice wall is interesting to me. So like I really like I think there, I don't know if there is an ice wall, but I mean what I think about this is like I don't think that like the Earth is flat versus say, or I don't even know if it's round. I think it's just we live in like a holographic reality. But like I do think maybe there's something with Antarctica, whether there's an underground civilization there, or maybe there's an ice wall, and then beyond the ice wall there could be more continents. And if you talk to like Lotta Leone, Sovereign Key, she thinks that like, a lot of these places that people are going in space are actually places outside the ice wall, which is interesting. And I've heard other people talk about that too, that they think that, if there is an ice wall, there could be places outside the ice wall, that the government's not necessarily telling us about. And also, there's that no-fly zone treaty with Antarctica, where like there like people aren't allowed to fly there for some reason, you know.
And I guess what about inner Earth? What are your thoughts and beliefs and knowledge on inner Earth?
Oh, I love inner Earth. I mean, I mean, there's so much, but I mean, like, I'll tell you a couple early things I know about it. So, like, I started learning about inner Earth back in like 2001 from the Art Bell show. Like, first when I first heard it, there was like this Native American elder that came on. His name was Red Elk. And he was amazing. He told stories about the reptilians being underground, and he was saying that like they have like machines under there that they can just kind of tap into, like if someone's having like an emotional issue, they can like tap into like someone, and they can like drink from it like a soda machine or something, but then like
Oh,
there was also this guy that came on Art Bell. His name was
like
Dallas
luge?
Thompson, and he was gonna fly like a mini helicopter into inner Earth, like, and he had gotten like the coordinates supposedly from this. He was living in Hawaii, and he met this Kahuna there, and this Kahuna was like being like driven off his land from these like outsiders, but like the Kahuna, I guess, gave him coordinates to the inner Earth, and he was gonna try to fly there. What's weird is like you can't find anything about this guy now. Like there's no trace of this Dallas Thompson guy anywhere. He wrote a book called The Cosmic Manuscript or something like that. But no, I think like inner Earth's a real thing. Like if you talk to Gene Decode thinks there's whole maglev train systems that run underneath Earth. Obviously, we know about deep underground military bases that could be under there. And then what I think is I think it's like you have like your deep underground military bases, then maybe alien civilizations, or aliens with like off-planet humans living underneath there. And maybe there's a whole other world that exists under there. I've heard people say that there's oceans under there. Like I heard everything that's up here is down there too. Yeah.
Hmm,
I mean, I can't prove any of that, but I mean, you know,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay, QHHT, and thank you.
Oh, wow. This is a big one because I have a lot of experiences with QHHT. I've been regressed like 12 times myself. Yeah, like I've been regressed like 12
Wow,
times.
12 times.
Yeah,
Hmm.
my friend Maya did a lot of them, but then like the one of the first times I was regressed, like do you want me to tell what I know about QHHT, or do you want me to tell like my experiences, or both?
Both, whatever you like. I'm just,
Well,
mhm.
I learned about QHHT like from Dolores Cannon, obviously, but like Dolores Cannon wants people to do it like only in person. And for the people that don't know, we're talking about quantum healing hypnosis, and you can be taken under to be regressed to a past life or an alien abduction event or an SSP event. But what happened was I got regressed by the alien abductee Terry Lovelace. Because he was practicing, and he did one on me, and I remember going back to a World War II prisoner camp, but like my first experience when I was regressed, and it was like I think I was seeing through the eyes of my grandfather, because my grandfather was a prisoner of war in World War II. And then I've had other experiences where I thought I was a gray, or I was like I felt like I was a gray alien. I've had so many different. I've had one where I thought I went to Venus. I've been regressed so many times. It's crazy. Like I do believe in it though. I believe it can be a good option for people looking to find answers, because it seems like the mind knows everything. Like the mind can see
Yeah.
things that like we can't see in our regular perception for whatever reason, and it can take you back to these accounts of like what might have happened or what didn't happen. Is it foolproof? I'm not sure about that. You know what I mean? I'm a little bit skeptical if it's foolproof, but like I do believe in it, but like it's like, it's I tell everybody take everything with a grain of salt, you know what I mean? Like, but I do think it can be very beneficial. Yeah.
Mm, that's fascinating. I've done it one time. Okay, I'm just going to keep going. Shapeshifters.
Um, I think I've had a guy whose his name is John Kachuba. He talks a lot about shapeshifters. there's like, like werewolf shapeshifters, there's skinwalkers, I'm trying to think. I'm not too big on the shapeshifter. I mean, but there's obviously reptilian shapeshifters. I heard about that from David Icke, and David Icke interviewing the African shaman Credo Mutwa back in the day, and they talked about like, and like a famous movie about that is They Live with Roddy Piper, where he's like, he goes and he's able to put on the alien glasses and he's starting to see people like shapeshifters and stuff like that. But I think shapeshifters can absolutely be very real, and I think like there are a lot of people who can shapeshift, and I do believe in the Native American tradition where there's skinwalkers where people have been, put under like some kind of magic to like transform into a shapeshifter. And I also believe that people can be like werewolf shapeshifters too. Yeah, I think
Yeah,
shapeshifters is definitely a real thing.
I do too. Soul Trap.
Oh, that's a real interesting one. Yeah, I actually I'm really scared about the soul trap because especially with like like James and Renetta dying recently because I just turned 46 years old and like I'm starting to think about like what am I going to do when I leave here? Because I've heard so many different stories about the soul trap and like is it real? Is it not real? And like I'm still undecided on what I'm going to do when I leave here. I from what my idea of what the soul trap is like basically you go to the light, the light pulls you in and you go to the light and then the next thing you wake up in a birth canal. And I always joke with people, I say that's why babies cry when they get born because they realize they got tricked into coming back here, so they're probably pissed about having to come back here. No, but I mean, no, but there's a soul trap. I think I don't know if it's real, it seems like it. I mean, but then there's some people that say the soul trap's been like kind of destroyed or whatever. I don't know what to believe, and I'm not sure about what I'm going to do when I get out of here, whether I'm going to go to the light or if I'm going to try. I just don't want it to like make me a ghost. Like if I don't go to the light, I don't want to turn into a ghost and be roaming the earth. That would be kind of weird.
I feel like your soul will know. Um, okay, thank you. And what about Dark Fleet?
Dark Fleet. One thing I wanted to, but before we get into Dark Fleet, but it's like one thing I wanted to bring up was when I interviewed Richard Martini. He was an interesting guy. I interviewed him like back in 2021. He talked about some really interesting stuff. Like he did a lot of case studies on people who were finding like an intermediate place. Like he was talking about people who died and they would be taken to like a classroom, and in this classroom like you would go and learn things. It was like a life in between life's like stage, you know what I mean? So if the soul trap isn't real and maybe we end up doing something like that, I would find that interesting too. I just thought I'd throw that in there. But a Dark Fleet, what I know about that is it's one of the factions of the SSP. There's supposedly Kruger, Knockwaffen, Dark Fleet, and I guess these are all fleets ran by either off-world Germans or alien factions and off-world Germans, and yeah, it's pretty interesting for sure. You know, and is it real? I'm not sure. But it seems to be. Yeah.
Okay, I have just two more. Um, what about timelines? Can you tell me what timelines are and do you how do you feel them? Like, what are your thoughts on them?
Well, time. Okay, so I'm like, like timelines are interesting to me because I believe that we can have like parallel realities, or like that we're living parallel realities. I'm thinking that maybe like the soul splits off, and like maybe like we're experiencing different lives in different places and different timelines. So like like our physical body is grounded to this timeline, but maybe we can be in other timelines at the same time, existing in other things. Like for example, like this girl that I'm kind of seeing, she keeps having dreams that like she's having dreams that we have like a baby together, you know what I mean? And it's like very vivid to her, and she's having dreams of like me and her and these children, but like in this life I don't have any kids, like, you know what I mean? But
Okay.
like she's dreaming about this vividly. And then I had a dream about me and her and a child, which I thought was really weird. I was like,
Wow.
Like so I feel like this is happening on other timelines, like maybe in other timelines that like we're having these experiences with people and like you know but like and then there's also time travel and like how like like experiencers like Arkeem Ross say he's been involved in like the Montauk Project, and he goes to different timelines, or he has went to different timelines and experienced things. um yeah, I think timelines is definitely a real thing. I don't know how to master them or anything. But people say, going back to the QHHT thing, that if you master QHHT, like you can kind of go to different timelines and stuff, because you can experience different, you know, you can experience past, present, or future, kind of, you know.
Mhm. Okay, thank you. And Stargates.
Oh, that's one that what Indigo Angel would know a lot more about than me. I've been learning a lot more about her. Supposedly, there's stargates all over the planet. They're entry exit points for alien races, or I guess the military is using them now. Some people could call them portals too, but I guess like a Stargate like mandates a whole area. Like for example, Indigo Angel always talks about Stargate 10 and how it was hijacked
Mhm.
in like Iran. You know, but like, and that supposedly that like governs over the whole area of like Iran, Iraq. And that is interesting because that also ties into the Anunnaki, and like the Anunnaki were there, and that's a whole other can of worms. But yeah, I mean, she would know a lot more about stargates than me. But like, I'm learning about those though a little bit. Yeah.
Actually, I did, if I ever get to talk with her, I have a question about Starfort. Like I loosely have an understanding about Stargate, but like the difference between Starfort and Stargate, I'm assuming it's a locale
Oh yeah,
that protects the
you
gate.
should
You know what I mean?
just Google star forts. You'll be amazed. Like what they were is star forts were like these like, I think they either made them in like in the World War time, or like they're all around the country here, and like they're like I think a lot of them are on the East Coast. Like let me see if I
Mhm.
can show you an example of a star fort. Like I think
Yeah.
there's one that's like right near me. Like hold on, let me see, star fort, and they built these near me. Let me see here if I can find it. Let me see images. But they're okay. So here they are. Like, let me see if I can. Those are star forts. So they're like physical places. Look how cool they
Oh
are.
wow. And they're stone, and
Yeah,
these are older.
yeah. They're like maybe 18th century or turn of the century, something like that. Maybe I don't know what exactly they were used for, but like, and again, that would be an Indigo
I
Angel.
wonder if those are remnants of, sorry to interrupt you. I wonder if they're like remnants of Tartaria.
That's a good question. They could be. I didn't think of that. They absolutely could be. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's a
Well,
good
on that
point.
note too, like what are your thoughts on Tartaria?
I think it actually existed. I
Mhm.
really do. And what was
Can you
interesting is I
define
had,
it? Can you
was
tell
that
us what it is? Do you mind telling me what it is first?
from what my understanding is, it's like a Eurasian country somewhere around like where Russia, where they like around that area where they controlled a large part of the world, but it was like
Mhm.
totally undermined by the New World Order. Like they didn't want to give it any credence for existing. But supposedly this civilization spanned the whole way over here, because I had like researchers like Michelle Gibson on, and Michelle Gibson says that you can see Tatarian architecture in some of the old buildings here in the United States, even some of the old houses and stuff like that. When she
Mhm.
told me that, I was like blown away. So that makes me think that like, that ties into like the mud floods and the orphan trains and all that stuff, and like, and the World's Fairs, and like people like stuff like Howdy Mikowski talks about, like that like maybe there was once this like ancient civilization that was like forgotten about on purpose. Like they don't want to tell us about it. That's what Tataria seems like to me. You know.
You brought up the orphan trains, and I just recently learned about the orphan trains. Are you talking about the trains where they picked up kids from like New York and would train them to the Midwest and farms?
Yeah, that all, I believe somehow that ties into Tataria and the mud floods and all that, like and like the World's Fairs, like because there was something there was something that they were doing, man, I'm losing my train of thought, because you gotta I talk to so many different people, you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
it ties in somehow, you know. I should ask my chat GPT, but like,
Interesting.
but, you know,
That's interesting.
yeah, but it does tie.
Okay. Well, that was kind of it. I don't want to like burn you out on the topics.
Oh,
I
this
think those,
is fun. I had a blast.
I really like that. I like, and again, I just think there's so much. You have like files upon files up in your mind. And I want to hear from you sometimes and like your insight and your knowledge. And okay, cool. I'm looking through here. Is there anything else that you would want to share with people that you don't really talk about in regards to yourself? You're pretty open about yourself on your show. So
I mean, I just like that people can follow me, you know, like it's Typical Skeptic Podcast 2.0 on YouTube. And I'm trying to rebuild. I used to have 20,000 followers and it got taken away. So, you know, I think now I'm almost at like 7,000. That's after a year. So I'm really trying to like build that back up. And then I'm on Rumble. And then you know, I always convince or not convince, I always try to tell people to listen to the audio podcast because like, you know, the audio podcast is great. You can like binge listen to multiple episodes. And I'm open for, and if anybody ever wants to interview me or talk to me, I'm open for interviews. And if anybody wants to be a guest on my show, they can come on. Like if you want to come on my show and you want to be a guest and tell your story, you're more than welcome. You know, like I would have you
thank
on for
you.
sure.
Thank you, Rob. Maybe I will. Um, hey, well, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much just for having this talk with me. It meant the world, and I've thoroughly enjoyed hearing a little bit more about you and hearing how you define some of these topics. My audience, some of these videos I make are for my family who and my kids who are from 21 to 31, and so I really try to ask questions that kind of simplify things because sometimes it feels a little bit echo chambery with everybody, you
Yeah,
know.
absolutely, it does. Yeah, I
um
feel you on that. Yeah.
yeah, so thank you, Rob. I really appreciate you. I hope you have the most amazing and blessed day. And thank you for tuning in to Just Waking Up. I hope you have a blessed day and good things ahead.
All right.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for having me on. This was awesome.
Thank you, Rob. Take
Thanks. Have a
care.
good day. Take care.
You too.